For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss ANC self-destruction. If true, what are the consequences? Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Are you not too quick to assume that the ANC is collapsing?
I'm not predicting that the ANC will collapse, but I do think that there are a lot of people who are reading the ANC as in the process of self-destruction. Quite respected, analysts that I would respect, like Carol Payton, and a number of others are suggesting this. The reason why, even if it is true that the ANC may self-destruct, that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. But I think we have to be very cautious about making predictions. I'm not making predictions. I'm just reading how I understand things. But I am not basing this on having visited ANC branches. And when I was involved, I used to find when you go to the rural areas, the branches are very different from in the urban areas, and I would imagine that a lot more has changed, and nothing is uniform. But what I'm cautious about is there may be pockets of the ANC which are very different from this image that we have of people who are corrupt, who are stealing, and so forth. However, on the other hand, it's now 22 years that the ANC has been in government. And what it has meant is that some people have been able, through their involvement in the ANC, to get access to positions on councils or government contracts. And through this, they have had a means that they didn't have before 1994 for supporting themselves, their family, getting rich, things like this, or not necessarily getting rich, but just coming out. And this was something that was not part of the ANC in history, where families used to pray at night for the leaders on Robben Island and in exile. It was an idea of something pure, and it was not anything to do with money, although some people in exile or even inside the country had access to better things than others. But I think what has happened now is that most black people have not been able to accumulate wealth in the same way as whites did. And the route to having a better standard of living, ensuring that your children can realize their talents educationally and so forth, is through access to government, either as an employee, a representative, MP, local government, or whatever it is, or through getting some contract to do this, that, and the other. But not everyone, and this relates to the question of whether the ANC is a cohesive force anymore. Not everyone did have these opportunities. So there's always been some people outside who have not had the same comfort and security. And that leads to tensions, and it also leads to a situation where some of those who are not councillors, some of those who are not MPs or provincial legislature members want those positions, and if they get it, then you get someone kicked out who goes to the branches or other structures, and they say there's like 1,000 ANC former councillors who are in branches at the moment and obviously very unhappy. So you've got an ANC that is very unhappy in some respects, because we've got an economic climate where people want these positions to relieve their poverty and all of that. but some people are being excluded. So there's like tensions within the organization that have not got anything to do with ideology. And then we have, apart from that, people who don't have any chance of getting, maybe not ANC members, who are living in areas where money has been diverted. The Auditor General made his report the other day, and there's a massive amount of money that has not been properly spent. Not always fraud, but irregularity, so that those resources that could have been used to better the lives of some people have not been made available. And so there's a lot of ordinary people who are unhappy, and it's been seen in the voting in the local government elections where ANC has not got a majority and is not the ruling party in 3 major metros. And there's massive budgets attached to that. And as I said in my article, the DA has got a lot of reason to govern efficiently. You know, the ANC may have thought, well, people are loyal to the ANC, it's historical, and they didn't have quite the same incentive. And the DA seems to be operating in some respects in a very professional way. For example, the hiring of General Sabia by Mashaba. Now, Mashaba is a person who people were mocking him because of his hair products and saying he's not really black and this, that, and the other. And so people were mocking him. But when Mashaba appoints someone like General Sabia, you can see what he's working on is he wants the job to be done properly. Now, the impression that a lot of people have is that the ANC wanted this job to be filled by someone. Whether it was done properly was a secondary matter. And maybe the DA will be in local government for the foreseeable future. And that is a very serious thing for the ANC. And you have Zakes Mdad today forecasting that the ANC won't hand over power, there'll be a bloodbath. It doesn't really give very strong reasons. But what has happened in all 3 of the big metros that the ANC lost is that there has been disorder, especially the other day in Nelson Mandela Bay, where people were hit on the head with water jugs and things like that. So that it's clear that the ANC is not comfortable with being in opposition. It hasn't worked out an afterlife in the sense that it didn't conceive of the possibility. Well, I never conceived of the possibility. I didn't imagine that the ANC would lose to the DA. Well, the DA didn't win, but lose to a DA coalition as they have done now, so that it has opened up possibilities. It's not certain that the ANC will lose, but it seems to me quite a strong possibility.
Why are you so cynical about the DA?
Well, I'm not totally cynical in the sense that when you go to Cape Town, I went to Cape Town about a month ago, and you drive around, the robots are working, they're not potholes. But where I was driving, it was mainly in a wealthier part of town. I believe that in the former coloured areas and the African areas, like parts of Gugulethu and so forth, this is not the case. And I think the way the DA operates is meritocratic, that they want the best person for the job and that the systems work very well and all that sort of thing. And it's rather cold, because to be concerned with the poor is not just a question of rules and regulations and meritocracy. It's It's a matter of compassion. And Cape Town is a very uneven city. And what I fear with the DA, and it's true of some of the discourse of someone like Mashaba, it's a sort of let the best person get to the top. Now, there's some people who don't get to the top not because they don't have talents, but because they've got historical disadvantages. And I have a fear that the DA is not sufficiently sympathetic to this, because they condemn people for saying that everything must be blamed on apartheid and all of that. But we have to give due weight to what apartheid has caused. And so what I said in my article is that the DA is a fairly regularized government, way of governing, and we need that instead of looting. But being regularized is not the same as emancipatory, trying to imagine a future where everyone realizes themselves in a whole lot of ways that they may not even think of now. And you don't get that sort of language from the DA, I think.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about ANC self-destruction. If true, what are the consequences?